Hey guys, it's Melanie. Welcome back, or welcome if you are new. I hope you are having a fantastic day. In today's video, I want to share some more in-depth fragrance reviews. So we're talking perfume today. Today's video format is a little bit different from how I normally share my perfume reviews. Typically, I will feature one fragrance per video, but today we're going to be discussing 5 different fragrances in one video. All 5 of these fragrances, in full disclosure, were sent to me by the company Shay Blue. They did reach out a couple of months ago and asked if I might be interested in testing their fragrances out and sharing my thoughts with you. And after taking a look at the website, I really liked what I saw in terms of the fact that they were cruelty-free, which is super important to me. The fragrances are also vegan. The company is sustainable. They use clean ingredients. All of that just seemed really appealing to me personally. So I went ahead and accepted their offer, and they sent out these 5 mini sizes of their fragrance of some of their fragrances for me to be able to test out and share my thoughts with you guys. So I'm going to go ahead and just speak a little bit about each individual fragrance in terms of what the fragrance notes are, what I smell, what it kind of smells like on my body, and then we will discuss the overall projection and lasting power of these fragrances. It's pretty consistent across the board with these 5 that they sent my way. And I have to say, I'm not so sure that Shay Blue will be sending me a whole lot more in terms of fragrances in the future, which is totally fine. But I do have to be honest when I am sharing these reviews with you guys. I always let companies know that I'm going to be sharing my honest review and my honest experience using their product, and they have to be accepting of that. And I have a little bit of an issue with the overall lasting power of these fragrances. And it's definitely to the point where I myself would probably not repurchase any of these, even though I do really like a couple of the fragrances. And by like, I mean, I actually love a couple of the fragrances, but we'll discuss more in terms of the lasting power towards the latter part of the video. But I want to be upfront with you and just let you know that I did not pay for these 5. But we're gonna go through them. So if you have ever been interested in this brand, hopefully this review is helpful in helping you decide whether this is a fragrance house that you want to invest in or not. So the way that we're gonna do this is I'm gonna go through all 5 of the fragrances and we'll discuss the scents, and then we'll get to the projection and the lasting power. So I have all of these pulled up here on my iPad so that I can read through the fragrance notes with you guys. We're gonna get started with the fragrance that I am actually wearing today. And I would say out of the 5 that they sent, this is definitely my top #1 fragrance. I really love this Blood Oranges. It is such a vibrant, fresh, bright, juicy orange, and I think a lot of people who love citrus-based perfumes would absolutely go gaga for this one. So let's go ahead and discuss. This, by the way, is their mini size. It retails for $30. They also offer just a regular full size, which is 3.4 ounces, and that retails for, I believe, $90. I will have everything linked in the description box down below. Feel free to go check it out. So the fragrance notes for the Blood Oranges fragrance are orange, amber, musk, leather, and wood. So what do you smell in this one? First of all, I did apply this one to my skin about 3 hours ago, and I would love to be able to just kind of share, what this smells like in terms of, the wear after 3 hours. But honestly, it has mostly disappeared from my skin already. So I'm gonna go ahead and re-up it for you. I will say they have a really nice atomizer on here. It provides a really nice mist. Nice even distribution. Nothing is running down my arms here. I'm gonna go ahead and apply a spritz over here as well. I will say when you first apply these, they're quite potent. I mean, they smell really strong when you first put them on, but that fades pretty quickly. So, but what are we smelling here? First of all, the juiciest blood orange that you will ever smell in your life. I believe that they source all of their fragrance oils from France. The company is originally based out of London, I believe. I think they're in London. But yeah, this is so vibrant, so juicy, perfectly sweet. But there's also that really interesting amber and leather note. The leather note isn't super aggressive. A lot of times I feel like leather notes can kind of take over a fragrance. That's not the case here. You're getting like a nice kind of white leather note in here. The amber is very warm. It's a very like resinous amber, and it plays super well with that blood orange. That leather kind of comes in right after that orange and the amber. There is a slight like muskiness to this fragrance, but it's not an overly musky orange, if that makes sense. This is very juicy, very bright, very vibrant. So it's almost like that musk plays a supporting role in terms of boosting that orange up versus adding, you know, kind of like that unique musky perfume type element, if that makes sense. I love this scent. This is so good. I will say the only note that I really don't pick up here is that wood note that they are talking about in the description here. I don't detect that. Not even as it starts to really dry down on my skin does it ever develop. But that leather, I feel like gets a little bit warmer as this dries down on my skin. It's just, listen, this is a great fragrance. I think this, if this had the lasting power, I would absolutely purchase a full size of this, because this would be fantastic as a like summertime date night type of fragrance. I also think this is kind of a nice unisex fragrance as well. I really like this one, but I could also see my husband really enjoying this one as well. He tends to do pretty well with citrus scents. So, but yeah, a really great fragrance. And in terms of the scent, they knocked it out of the park with this one. It is stunning. For the rest of these, I'm going to spray them on paper for you. The next fragrance is their salt caramel scent, and this is another one that I have really enjoyed. So let me go ahead and read through the fragrance notes of this one for you. So the notes are sea salt, caramel, tonka, vanilla, and sandalwood. So definitely more of like a gourmand, if you will. I'm gonna go ahead and spray it on the card here just so you can once again see that nice mist. Just a beautiful distribution. Immediately, this one just, it smells edible, you guys. This is truly an edible fragrance here, but really unique and interesting with the addition of that sea salt. It really brings out the caramel note in here. Salted caramel, I mean, delicious, right? But it's amazing how that little touch of sea salt really amplifies the caramel. It almost brings out a little bit more of the sweetness in a way. I love the tonka in here. The tonka really adds a lot of depth. There's also just a regular, I would say, vanilla bean type note in here. And then as this starts to dry down is when you start to really smell that sandalwood. It's a very creamy sandalwood note. And it just, again, adds a little bit of depth to the fragrance. But it doesn't take away the gourmand aspect here. The caramel is really the star of the show. It's not overly sweet. It's not cloying. I'm really picky about caramel, and this is a caramel that really works for me. I think this is delightful. And this is another one where I would probably totally purchase the full size if the lasting power was there. So Next, let's go ahead and move on to the black tulip fragrance here. Let me go ahead and spray this on the card. This is a really interesting floral. I don't love this scent. I don't think this one really jives with my body chemistry, but I have also sprayed this on my clothing, and I actually like the way that this smells on my clothing a lot more than I like it on my actual skin. Sometimes that can happen. Your own personal body chemistry is going to affect how a fragrance interacts with you. So keep that in mind. So black tulip, let me pull it up here. This one has notes of tulip, snowdrop, plum, cyclamen, and white chocolate, interestingly enough. I don't get any white chocolate. So if you're kind of excited about that note, I don't smell that in this fragrance at all, either on my skin or on my clothing when I apply it. I do get that sweet, juicy plum note here. It pairs really nicely with the tulip note. It's not the most potent floral, but it is a nice take on tulip. Get a little bit of that cyclamen as well. There's a small kind of green aspect to this scent, not a really aggressive green, but just like a hint of it. Yeah, it's mostly the plum, the tulip, the cyclamen. No chocolate at all. I don't know where that white chocolate is supposed to come in, but I don't smell that at all. I like this scent okay when I spray it on my clothing, but again, with my body chemistry, I'm not sure what the issue is, but it just doesn't smell quite right. It is a somewhat sweeter floral. I love florals when it comes to personal fragrance, but this one just didn't really agree with me. That doesn't mean that it won't agree with your body chemistry, but it just wasn't my thing. Next, let's discuss the Melrose and Apple Blossom. This one is another one that I definitely enjoyed. This one did a little bit better with my body chemistry, and by a little bit, I mean a lot better. I actually really like the way this one smells on me. It's kind of an interesting green, springy type of fragrance. I think a lot of people would find this one very, very interesting. Let's go ahead and pull up the fragrance notes on this one. So we have apple blossom, caramel, bamboo, and amber. I like that apple blossom. Has a little bit of almost like a tang to it, if that makes sense. It's sweet, but not overly sweet. The caramel really only comes out for me after this one dries down quite a bit, but I smell that bamboo note, and I think that's where I'm getting that kind of touch of green from in here. I really like that bamboo. I think it adds an interesting element to the floral aspect here. And I also smell amber again. It's the same amber that we had in the blood oranges. It's really warm, beautiful, perfumey, resinous amber. And it really, I think, does a good job of amplifying that apple blossom note here. I like this fragrance a lot. It's not one that I'm in love with, but it's unique and interesting, and I don't have anything in my collection quite like this one. So I think the fact that it's a little bit different from what I normally gravitate towards just has me really interested in it. But again, the lasting power here. The last fragrance that I want to share with you guys is the Lilacs and Gooseberries. Let's go ahead and spray this one. Okay, so normally I'm actually not a huge fan of lilac when it comes to personal fragrance or home fragrance, quite frankly. Lilac is one of those floral notes that just kind of smells a little cloying to my nose. During the spring, don't get me wrong, I love going on a walk and, you know, walking past a lilac bush out in nature and having that beautiful aroma kind of waft over to me. But when it comes to personal fragrance or home fragrance, I find that the lilac oil or whatever that is used, it kind of smells a little bit artificial, and it just really kind of amps up that natural sweetness that lilacs have. And I don't love it. It's just not my thing, right? Like, everybody has their preferences when it comes to fragrance notes. Lilac isn't something that I naturally gravitate towards, but I gotta say, in this particular formulation, that lilac paired with the gooseberry and the amber, which is also in here, it makes that lilac a whole lot more enjoyable. It does not smell nearly as sweet and cloying as it normally does. So this is probably one of the first times that I have tried a lilac perfume that is just really lovely and enjoyable. The gooseberries, if you've never had a gooseberry, it's a really delicious kind of slightly tart, tangy, like a little bit of sour, but like it's also sweet at the same time. When you bite into a gooseberry, when they're perfectly ripe, you get this really nice like crunch and then like explosion of flavor in your mouth. I love gooseberries. My Oma used to grow them, and one of my favorite things when I was growing up was to go over and visit her and then hit up the garden and just go ham on the gooseberries. They were such a fun treat for me as a kid, and it's very, it's kind of a nice reminiscent note in this particular scent. I don't know, it makes it a little bit nostalgic for me. But I also think that the amber here also plays an important role in terms of toning that sweetness down from the lilacs a little bit. The same amber that was in the other two fragrances is the amber that they use in this lilacs and gooseberries. It's very warm, very resinous amber. And again, it just kind of tones down the sweetness and amps up a little bit more of that perfumey aspect. This is a nice take on lilac. I was a little hesitant when I first opened this one, but definitely pleasantly surprised. So if you normally shy away from lilac, this might be a lilac worth checking out. But just in terms of the fragrances themselves, I think their perfumers have done a really great job. These fragrances are unique. They are well crafted in terms of the scents really, you know, being cohesive. The fragrances make sense. The notes blend beautifully into each other. They are quite prominent in the fragrances. Like, you can definitely pick out the caramel. You can smell the sea salt. You smell that beautiful blood orange, the amber, the gooseberries, like just very beautiful, obviously really high quality fragrance oils that they're using here. My only issue with these fragrances and what is going to keep me from purchasing full sizes of my favorites here is that while the initial projection is really good when you apply these, I just don't find that they last on my skin. They last a little bit longer when I spray them on my clothing, but on my skin, I don't know what it is. I feel like my body just eats these fragrances up. Within, I would say, 2.5, 3 hours of applying, I can barely even smell the scent anymore. For me, I always apply my fragrances over moisturized skin, so that really does help with the overall lasting power. But even with doing that, I just cannot get these fragrances to last on my skin. And that is really frustrating for me, because while I don't mind reapplying after about 4 hours or so, the lasting power of these are more in line with like an eau de toilette. they don't perform like an eau de parfum at all. The way that they fade is very fast, and honestly faster than I would say any other brand that I've tried in recent years. Even though I just reapplied that blood orange not long ago, I can tell it's already starting to fade on my skin, and I just don't understand why these are not lasting on me. So I don't know if this is just a me problem, but I do want to be honest with you guys about my experiences. I'm not going to say these are going to disappear on your skin within a couple of hours necessarily. You would need to test them out yourself, but I am going to be honest about my experience using these products. And while I am grateful that they gifted these to me to be able to share my thoughts with you, I don't see myself purchasing more from this company in the future. I'm looking for a little bit longer lasting power in my personal fragrances, and I just did not get this across the board with any of these 5 fragrances. So for what it's worth, that's my opinion. I feel bad because, like I said, they were kind enough to gift these products to me, but they just unfortunately did not work out for me. So for what it's worth, that is my experience. Thank you so much for taking the time to tune in for today's video. Let me know if you have any questions. I will have them linked in the description box down below. If you would like to go ahead and take a chance on Shay and Blue fragrances, I will have the information down there. And I will see you guys in the next one. Take care. Toodaloo.